In the heart of the Amazon, existence is a currency that must be earned every single second, paid for in blood and absolute stillness. We often imagine the rainforest as a lush paradise, but when the rains stop, the mask of beauty falls away to reveal a machinery of pure, cold, calculated survival. Before we descend into this world of shadows and scales, where the line between predator and prey is thinner than a whisper, take a moment to join our journey. Subscribe to the channel and step into the depths of the wild, where every breath is a victory and every silence is a warning. The sun begins its slow, relentless assault on the basin, turning the once vast waterways into a series of disconnected, suffocating prisons. This is the transition into the dry season, a time when the horizon shimmer with heat and the lush greenery begins to curl and fade at the edges. The river, once a highway of infinite possibility, retreats into the earth, leaving behind a landscape of exposed mud and shrinking channels. As the water levels drop, the geography of the jungle changes, forcing every living thing into a smaller and smaller theater of conflict. It is a time of compression, where the space between life and death becomes narrow enough to touch. In these shallow pools, the vibrant chaos of the wet season is replaced by a heavy, expectant tension. Fish that once swam through the flooded forest are now trapped in muddy puddles, their silver scales flashing desperately as they gasp for oxygen. The sounds of the jungle become sharper, more distinct, as the muffling effect of the rain disappears. Every snap of a dry twig and every ripple in the stagnant water carries a message of danger to those who know how to listen. The balance of the entire ecosystem begins to fracture, peeling back the layers of cooperation to reveal the raw competition beneath. Life here is no longer about growth, but about endurance and the careful management of energy. The birds that once nested high in the canopy now descend to the mudflats, their eyes scanning for the easy pickings of a dying river. Mammals that once moved with freedom must now risk everything to reach the few remaining watering holes. There is a sense of mounting pressure, a feeling that the very air is thickening with the necessity of the kill. The dry season is the great filter of the Amazon, a trial that decides who is worthy of the next rainy season and who will become part of the dust. Beneath the surface of the thickening mud, a prehistoric patience lies in wait, nearly indistinguishable from the earth itself. Caimans are the silent sentinels of these shrinking pools, their armored bodies looking more like submerged logs than apex predators. They do not pace or roar, for they understand that in the dry season, movement is a luxury that costs too much. They are masters of the low-energy life, capable of slowing their heartbeats and remaining motionless for hours or even days. This stillness is not sleep, but a state of hypervigilance where every sense is tuned to the vibrations of the surrounding world. Their physiology is a testament to millions of years of evolutionary refinement, allowing them to thrive where others wither. A caiman can rest in the heat of the midday sun while remaining fully aware of a bird landing 20 feet away or a fish struggling in the silt. They have turned the act of waiting into a biological weapon, conserving their strength for the split second when opportunity presents itself. In an environment where food is becoming scarce, they do not waste energy on the chase, but wait for the world to come to them. Their eyes, barely breaking the surface of the water, are windows into an ancient mind that knows only the cold logic of the hunt. But this stillness can be a double-edged sword, for it makes them targets for the only creature that does not fear the water. The jaguar moves through the forest like a ghost made of muscle and spots, its paws finding silent purchase on the parched ground. It views the dry season not as a hardship, but as a banquet, a time when its favorite prey is pinned down by the receding tide. The jaguar does not hunt with the frantic energy of a wolf. but with the surgical precision of an assassin. It watches the caiman from the shadows of the bank, calculating the distance and the angle of the strike with a brain evolved for tactical dominance. The battle between these two titans is not one of speed, but of psychological warfare and biological endurance. A jaguar may wait for hours, its body coiled like a spring, watching for the moment the caiman's focus wavers. When the strike comes, it is a blur of golden light and a splash of muddy water, the jaguar aiming for the back of the skull. This is the signature of the Amazon's king, a bite designed to bypass armor and end a life instantly. Yet the caiman has its own secrets, a legacy of survival that predates the very existence of the cat. Not every hunt ends in a kill, and sometimes the prey possesses a resolve that defies the predator's hunger. There are moments when a caiman, sensing the closing jaws, retreats into the deepest part of the muddy pool and refuses to surface. It utilizes a specialized system of oxygen circulation, diverting blood to its brain and heart while its muscles remain dormant. The jaguar, a creature of the air and the land, cannot follow into the suffocating depths of the silt. It must stand on the bank, frustrated by a target that has effectively vanished into the earth. This is the triumph of patience over aggression, a reminder that in the wild, the ability to wait is often more lethal than the ability to strike. Eventually, the jaguar may abandon the hunt, driven by the need to find a more certain meal before its own energy reserves fail. The caiman remains submerged long after the predator has gone, a shadow beneath the mud that has cheated death through the sheer power of its lungs. This encounter leaves a mark on the swamp, a lingering sense of what was almost lost and what was barely saved. It is a dance of life and death that has been performed for millennia, a cycle where the roles of hunter and hunted are written in the very DNA of the creatures. The jaguar retreats, but it does not forget, and the caiman survives, but it does not relax. As the water continues to recede, the cycle of life moves from the struggle of the individual to the preservation of the lineage. Female caimans find themselves in an increasingly vulnerable position as their nesting sites are exposed by the drying earth. They must guard their mounds of vegetation with a ferocity that borders on madness, for the heat of the season is both a cradle and a curse. The sun incubates the eggs, but it also draws out the scavengers who know that a mother cannot be everywhere at once. She stands as a lone sentry against a world that views her children as nothing more than protein. When the hatchlings finally emerge, they are tiny replicas of their parents, born into a world that is actively trying to consume them. They move toward the water with an instinctual urgency, unaware that the shrinking pools are full of eyes waiting for a small, soft target. The mother's vigilance is a constant, exhausting labor as she scans the skis for hawks and the tall grass for snakes. Despite her best efforts, the numbers dwindle day by day as the laws of nature demand a heavy toll from the next generation. Survival for these young reptiles is not a matter of strength, for they have none, but a matter of sheer luck and the relentless attention of their mother. It is a ruthless world where even the most dedicated protection cannot stop the inevitable. A snake may slip through the grass at night, or a large fish may pull a hatchling under while the mother is distracted by a rival. This is the tragedy of the dry season, a time when the potential for life is so often snuffed out before it can even begin. Yet, the mother does not mourn, for she does not have the capacity for such human emotions. She simply resets her focus, guarding the remaining few with the same mechanical intensity as before, driven by an instinct that is older than the trees surrounding her. While the caiman and the jaguar represent the solitary power of the jungle, a different kind of force begins to move through the marshes. Giant otters, the so-called wolves of the river, enter the shallow waters not as individuals, but as a coordinated and fearless unit. They are the masters of collective intelligence, using communication and teamwork to dismantle the hierarchy of the swamp. Unlike the jaguar, who relies on the element of surprise, the otters are loud and brash, their presence a chaotic storm of chirps and splashes. They do not fear the adult caiman, for they know that together they possess a power that no lone reptile can match. The otter pack operates with a level of tactical sophistication that is terrifying to behold. They do not engage in a direct head-on fight, which would risk the lives of their family members. Instead, they use a strategy of harassment and exhaustion, nipping at the caiman's tail and distracting it from multiple angles. They move like liquid, darting in and out of the caiman's reach, forcing the larger animal to turn and snap until it is gasping for air. It is a slow dismantling of dominance, a proof that in the shallow waters, cooperation can overcome even the most formidable brute force. A large caiman, accustomed to being the terror of its pool, suddenly finds itself overwhelmed by a flurry of fur and teeth. It strikes out, but the otters are too quick, always one step ahead of the closing jaws. They wear the reptile down, draining its energy and its will to fight until it chooses to retreat into the mud or the reeds. The giant otters do not always kill for food. Sometimes they harass simply to clear their territory, establishing themselves as the true owners of the river. Their success is a testament to the strength of the social bond, a reminder that even in a world of monsters, there is power in numbers. In the wake of such a struggle, the swamp reveals its true nature as an opportunist that wastes nothing. Once an animal is weakened or injured, the environment itself seems to turn against it, drawing in the scavengers and the lesser predators. Vultures circle above, their shadows crossing the mud like omens of the end, while smaller fish begin to pick at the wounds of the fallen. There is no mercy in this transition, only the cold efficiency of the food web. The struggle of one creature becomes the sustenance of 10 others, as the energy of the dying is recycled back into the system. This cascading predation is what keeps the Amazon in balance, ensuring that no single death is without purpose. Even the most powerful predator will one day find itself on the other side of the equation, falling victim to age, injury, or the changing climate. When the water finally settles after a hunt, the swamp resumes its rhythm as if nothing had ever happened. The mud hides the bones, and the reeds grow over the site of the kill, erasing the memory of the violence. It is a place of profound indifference, where the only thing that matters is the continuation of the cycle. While the drama of the hunt plays out in the open, a more subtle and terrifying power moves beneath the murky surface. The anaconda is the ghost of the swamp, a creature of immense mass and terrifying silence. It does not need the speed of the jaguar or the teeth of the otter. It relies on the inexorable pressure of its own body. An anaconda can remain hidden in a foot of water, its camouflaged skin blending perfectly with the decaying leaves and silt. It waits for a caiman to wander too close. It strikes so fast that the eye can barely register the movement. The battle that follows is not a display of aggression, but a slow and deliberate demonstration of control. The anaconda wraps its heavy coils around the caiman, each loop tightening every time the prey exhales. It is a fight against physics, as the snake's muscles apply a pressure that collapses lungs and stops hearts. There is no escape from this embrace, for the more the caiman struggles, the more the anaconda tightens its grip. It is a different form of dominance, one based on the absolute certainty of the squeeze and the cold patience of the reptile mind. In this struggle, the caiman's armor is useless against the crushing weight of the snake. The fight may take an hour, a long and agonizing process of constriction that ends only when the last spark of life leaves the prey. Once the victory is secure, the anaconda begins the incredible feat of consuming its prize, its jaws unhinging to accommodate a meal that would be impossible for any other creature. This act of feeding is a vulnerable time for the snake, yet its reputation and its size are usually enough to keep other predators at bay. It is the silent ruler of the depths, a master of the slow kill. The dry season also brings about a ritual that is as exhausting as it is essential for the future of the species. When the pheromones of a female anaconda drift through the stagnant air, they draw in males from miles around. This leads to the formation of a snake ball, a writhing mass of dozens of males competing for the right to mate with a single, much larger female. There is no biting or overt violence in this competition. It is a test of pure endurance and persistence. The males may remain entwined for weeks, each trying to find the position that will allow them to pass on their genetic legacy. It is a slow-motion struggle that takes place in the mud, away from the prying eyes of the jungle's more active hunters. The female remains at the center of this chaos, a stoic force that endures the weight and the pressure of her suitors. She is looking for the male who can outlast the others, the one whose strength and stamina prove him worthy of her. When the ritual finally concludes, the breeding ball dissolves, and the males slide away, drained of their energy and vulnerable to the dangers of the season. The female is left alone, carrying the future of her kind within her, a task she will fulfill through her own solitary strength. The jaguar, however, remains the undisputed apex shadow of the rainforest, a creature that has perfected the art of the kill. Evolution has sculpted this cat into a masterpiece of biological engineering, with a bite force that exceeds that of a lion or a tiger. It is the only big cat that routinely targets the brain and the skull, a method that requires immense strength and terrifying accuracy. The jaguar does not hunt with the desperation of the hungry, it hunts with the calm confidence of a master. It chooses its targets carefully, looking for the individuals that offer the highest reward for the lowest risk. This surgical approach to predation is what allows the jaguar to thrive in an environment as challenging as the Pantanal. It understands the anatomy of its prey better than any other hunter, knowing exactly where to strike to bypass the defensive plates of a caiman or the thick hide of a boar. When a jaguar enters a territory, the very atmosphere changes, as if the jungle itself is holding its breath. It is a ghost that can weigh 200 pounds, a paradox of massive power and delicate stealth. Its rule is not based on fear alone, but on the absolute efficiency of its results. When the domains of the land and the water finally collide head-on, the result is a spectacle of raw power. In the open mud of the dry season, the caiman's traditional advantages of ambush and underwater retreat are often stripped away. The jaguar, sensing this vulnerability, will sometimes attack a caiman directly in the center of a drying pool. It is a clash of titans where the jaguar's aggression meets the caiman's defensive armor. If the jaguar can secure its grip on the back of the neck, the fight is over in seconds, the crushing bite ending the struggle before it can truly begin. Yet if the caiman can drag the cat into deeper water, the tables may turn. In the liquid element, the jaguar loses its footing and its leverage, while the caiman gains the ability to roll and drown its attacker. This is the thin line that these predators walk every day, a balance of risk and reward that defines their existence. Most of the time, the Jaguar's tactical brilliance and superior speed allow it to prevail, dragging a massive reptile back to the shore as a trophy of its dominance. It is a reminder that in the hierarchy of the wild, intelligence and aggression often outweigh armor and patience. The presence of the jaguar sends ripples of fear through every level of the ecosystem, shaping the behavior of all who live within its range. Capybaras, the world's largest rodents, will not venture far from the water's edge, their eyes constantly scanning for the twitch of a golden ear. Crocodilians that would normally bask in the sun remain submerged or hidden in the reeds, unwilling to risk exposure to the cat's gaze. Even the fierce white-lipped peccaries, which move in large and aggressive herds, will scatter at the scent of a jaguar. Fear is the invisible hand that manages the population and the movements of the jungle. This psychological pressure is as important as the act of predation itself, for it prevents any one species from becoming too comfortable or overpopulating a region. The jaguar is the regulator, the one who keeps the balance by simply existing. Its reputation precedes it, creating a landscape of fear that dictates where animals eat, sleep, and raise their young. Every creature in the Amazon lives in a state of constant calculation, weighing their needs against the probability of encountering the apex shadow. It is a testament to the jaguar's power that it can control the environment without even showing itself. However, there is one exception to this rule of fear, a group that refuses to bow to the king of the jungle. The giant otter pack stands its ground against the jaguar, meeting the cat's silent menace with a wall of sound and fury. When an otter family encounters a jaguar near the water, they do not flee, they group together and advance, baring their teeth and letting out piercing screams. An experienced jaguar knows that while it could easily kill a single otter, it cannot survive the collective assault of an entire pack. The cost of the kill would be too high, potentially leading to injuries that would mean death in the unforgiving dry season. Here at the edge of the river, the jaguar's dominance meets its limit. The otters represent the power of the community, a force that can repel even the most lethal individual. It is a fascinating standoff, a moment where the ultimate predator is forced to reconsider its options and move on. This interaction proves that there is no such thing as absolute power in nature. There is only the constant negotiation of boundaries. The jaguar retreats into the shadows, and the otters return to their fishing, both having acknowledged the strength of the other. As the dry season reaches its peak, the struggle for survival becomes a meditation on the nature of life itself. We see that strength is not just in the muscles, but in the ability to adapt, to wait, and to work together. The Amazon does not reward the loud or the reckless. It rewards those who understand the limits of their own power. The jaguar, the caiman, the anaconda, and the otter are all masters of their own niches, bound together by the same relentless sun and the same receding water. Their lives are a reminder that we are all part of a larger system, one that demands respect and awareness. The law of the jungle is not one of cruelty, but of necessity and balance. Every death provides life, and every struggle strengthens the whole. As you move through your own world, ask yourself, are you acting with the focus of the jaguar or the patience of the caiman? Do you recognize the power of the people around you, or are you trying to face the world alone? These are the questions that the dry season poses to all living things. Thank you for journeying into the heart of the Amazon with us and for witnessing the incredible drama of survival. Always remember that even in the harshest environments, life finds a way to endure and to begin again. Please subscribe to the channel to continue exploring the deep mysteries and powerful lessons of the natural world. Your support allows us to bring these stories to light and to share the beauty of our planet's most remarkable inhabitants.